What is going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the best daggers build in New World Aeternum. This build is all about precise aggression and the lifesteal. The daggers and the hatchet together will create one of the most dynamic and self-sustaining melee combinations in the game. We will dart in with impossible speed, then tear through the enemies and sustain ourselves through the sheer momentum. It's not a build about trading blows, but it's about dictating every second of the engagement. The idea behind this is super simple. We pressure and persist, so we use the daggers to open and destabilize the target, and then once you jaw out their defenses, we just switch instantly to the hatchet to finish the job or reset the pace. Together, these weapons will create a continuous combat loop that keeps you permanently on the offense. Your daggers will slice, your hatchet will maul. In between the two, there's never a moment of weakness. The whole flow feels fast and ruthless. The light armor will give us a complete control over the spacing and the dodge freedom, while the pushing rally and the punishing calm will amplify our damage through the perfect timing. The more we move, the harder you are to hit. Every ability, every dodge, and every action will become the part of a single rhythmic assault, and when played properly, this build will not just win fights, it controls them from the start to finish. So let's take a look at the attributes. The stat foundation for the setup is straightforward but incredibly refining. We get 170 strength and 350 dexterity. The strength fuels the raw physical power behind the hatchet by giving it a heavy impact and the scaling that is needed for every hit to count, and then dexterity will drive the precision and the speed that makes the dagger so lethal, by turning your light attacks and the crit chains into a flurry of unstoppable strikes. Together, these will create a stat synergy that keeps both weapons at a peak efficiency without a compromise. And lastly, you don't want to invest into the constitution here, because this build does not rely on standing still and absorbing hits. Your defense is movement and your safety is control. And the light armor 20% bonus will ensure that every attack hit will amplify the force, and the dodge with the lifesteal mechanic will keep us alive, even in the most chaotic fights. Then next, let's go over the daggers 3. Your core abilities is the frenzy slashes, ambush and the stealth. The frenzy slashes is your main burst window. It's a relentless chain of the strikes that builds tempo and bleeds your enemies down with the accelerated speed. It's the heartbeat of the weapon, the move that defines our rhythm and opens every fight with a raw aggression. And then ambush is the opener and repositioning tool. We slip into the shadows, then set our angle, and then strike with explosive precision. It's both initiation and a reset tool that let us control when and how to commit. Then stealth ties everything together by giving you a control over engagement and disengagement alike. It lets you vanish mid-rotation, retaliate with the dodges, and reappear exactly where your enemy will least expect it. When you time it correctly, the stealth will not just be an escape, it's a setup for a one-shot kill. And then 4 perks are crucial here, so punishing rally on your daggers will turn every activation into a damage steroid that perfectly syncs your tempo between the weapons. And then the keenly jagged will amplify the bleed on the crit by stacking sustained pressure that keeps your daggers ticking down even when you're not repositioning. And then Vicious 2 finishes the trio by boosting our critical strike power and rewarding precision with a sharp timing in every engage. And then on the other hand, we have the hatchet. Your rotation will start with the berserker. The moment it activates, you're in motion. The berserker increases your movement speed, boosts your damage, and grants a constant healing through its duration. It's the heartbeat of the build. Once it's on, you never stop. Then the raging torrent follows by delivering a rapid chain of the hits that multiply our punishing rally bonus and refresh cooldowns through the passive synergy. And then finally, we have the feral rush that closes the gap, locking down fleeing targets or catching dodgers mid-roll. This will give you a control and finish potential that no other melee weapon can match. Then for the passives, our hatchet should carry the punching rally again for the full benefit across the build. Every activation will reinforce both weapons, so maintaining our offensive pressure even as we rotate. Then keenly empower will add stacking damage with the crits, making every strike during berserk feel heavier. And then refreshing torrent cuts our cooldowns by letting you keep berserker up nearly permanently when played aggressively. Overall, these passives in the tree will bring unmatched sustain. Against all odds will amplify your damage when surrounded, and turning group fights into the feeding grounds, while the fight dead will act as our insurance policy, which is pretty much the final breath of our survival when everything else should be over. It pretty much makes us immortal when we get below 0 HP. Then next we have gear. Everything revolves around the uptime, movement and the scaling. The light armor is non-negotiable. It's the foundation that makes the build function. The 20% bonus damage and the complete dodge freedom will make it the only choice for a build that lives and dies by its tempo. Then every armor piece should carry the punishing calm, refreshing and the shirking energy. Punishing calm will amplify your first hits after a dodge by fitting perfectly into our dagger openers and then maintaining constant burst pressure. Then refreshing keeps our cooldown cycling and ensuring that berserk, evade and the torrent are always ready. Then shirking energy is what keeps us moving. It restores stamina during dodges, prevents exhaustion and lets you maintain the perpetual motion that defines this playstyle. Then our jewelry rounds out the sustain. The amulet should carry a keenly fortified by giving fortify after the crits and help you to absorb chip damage in the close engagements. Then the ring benefits from the vicious 2 and the punishing calm by amplifying our crit bursts and reinforcing the dodge attack rhythm. Then the earring with the refreshing toast and regeneration will ensure the potions and the passive healing will always keep you topped off between the engages. Overall, together, these pieces will make the build feel fluid. You're never stuck, never starved, and always ready to strike. Then the weapons will follow the same logic, so the daggers with the punishing rally, keenly jagged and the vicious 2 will deliver a constant, crit-driven bleed damage and a consistent burst. Then the hatchet with the punishing rally, keenly empowered and refreshing torrent will complete the loop, guaranteeing us a near constant uptime on the buffs and the cooldowns. Overall, each weapon will feed into one another by creating a seamless flow of the damage, healing and mobility. Then also we got our gem setup, and it mirrors the psychology of the build, so relentless pressure at every engagement. We use the punishing rally in both weapons, as it turns every activation, no matter if it's the frenzy slash combo or even a berserk, into a permanent damage boost. Every strike, every dash and every bleed stacks will feed into this, ensuring that your offensive output is maximized for both single target and AoV. Then on your armor, the punishing calm will provide the perfect balance for survivability versus the overwhelming aggression. It slightly reduces the crit generation and boosts the damage against taunted enemies. This lets us dive into the thick of the combat without compromising the tempo we built with our weapons. And now finally, let's see how to actually play this build. Every fight begins with the daggers, and we start by entering the stealth to close the distance safely, or even reposition for a clean opener. And then once you're in the range, we hit ambush to root or heavily slow your target, locking them in place and setting up our burst. From there, we follow immediately with the frenzy slashes, which is our primary damage window. Then we combine in the light attacks between each ability to maintain the combo points and stack keenly jagged procs, which ensures that our bleeds and damage over time effects will stay active. This first part is all about disruption and control, and keeping the enemy consistently reacting. Then once our dagger abilities are on cooldown, or the target attempts to reset, then we rotate in the hatchet for sustained damage and the group pressure. The berserk is our first skill. Activating it immediately will refresh the punishing rally, which syncs perfectly with the dagger's rhythm while granting a massive damage and a healing boost. Then we close in and use the raging torrent, layering hits against multiple targets, or stacking the buffed single target damage if fighting just one target. Each strike within the torrent will trigger the punishing rally that turns our rotation into a cycle of offense power and a self-sustain. The beauty of this build is its flow. The daggers initiate, control and apply pressure, and then the hatchet follows with the punishes and sustain. Light attacks, dodges and ability rotations will feed one another, meaning that your rhythm will never stop.